Hey, this is Chris over at NutriShop in Murrieta, the #1 nutrition store in Murrieta. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you information and explain how we're actually able to eat carbohydrates at nighttime and optimize fat loss and optimize muscle growth at the same time. So, the topic today is carb backloading. So, carb backloading is a unique and strategic style of nutrition and nutrient and food intake that was discovered by a physicist named John Kiefer. And carb backloading all revolves around insulin and the delivery of nutrients into muscle tissue and or into fat tissue. And it all affects how we're able to control whether or not we're building muscle or we're causing our own fat tissue to shrink. So here's how we do carb backloading. It's really easy to do. I will also explain how and why it's actually just so much more effective than the normal style of nutrition that we're also used to when it comes to thinking that we're eating clean and eating healthy. So here's how we do carb backloading. We actually skip breakfast. So then we have 5 meals total for the rest of the day. And they're all roughly spaced out about every 3 hours. So our first 3 meals of the day are going to be proteins, vegetables, and healthy fats. So that's what we're doing for our first 3 meals of the day that are all spaced out about every 3 hours. Now our last 2 meals of the day are going to be dinner and finally before bed a protein shake. Now in those last 2 meals we're going to load up on high glycemic carbohydrates. So at nighttime the fun begins with the carbs. So now here's how carb backloading works. So essentially throughout the whole day, we're putting our bodies in a ketogenic state or a state of ketosis. So what that means is that we're in a carb deprived state. Now what happens is when our body gets used to not getting carbohydrates, what'll happen is that in our liver we start to produce ketones. And when we produce ketones, our body starts to burn ketones for energy, and then we start to actually burn our own body fat for energy. So that's what we're doing throughout the whole day to optimize fat loss. We're putting our bodies in a ketogenic state or a carb deprived state, and then at nighttime is when we have high sugar carbs. Now, this all affects our insulin and the effect that insulin has on delivering nutrients into muscle or to fat tissue. So with insulin, it's the nutrient delivery hormone. So it can actually deliver nutrients into our muscle tissue and affect whether or not our muscle tissue grows or shrinks. But it can also do the same thing with our fat tissue. Insulin will deliver nutrients into our fat tissue and can make our fat tissue grow or can also make our fat tissue shrink. So we want our fat tissue to shrink and we want our muscles to grow. And that's how we're gonna apply carb backloading. So what's important to understand about insulin when it comes to fat burning and muscle growth is that, or especially with fat burning, when insulin is present in our blood, it's very difficult to burn body fat. But when insulin is low or not present in our blood, our fat burning is amped up and elevated and fired up through the roof. So anytime we eat any kind of carbohydrates, especially during the daytime, and I mean like any carbs, like for example, healthy carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates like brown rice or oatmeal. Well, that brown rice or that oatmeal is gonna cause a spike in our insulin. And that means that it's gonna be a lot harder to burn body fat. Instead, our body's gonna have to burn those carbs as an energy source. And we don't want that. We want to burn fat as an energy source and not have to worry about burning carbs. So with carb backloading, we don't have any carbohydrates throughout the day so that way we keep our insulin levels low. And that keeps us at an elevated fat burning state throughout the whole day. Okay, so now at nighttime, like I said, this is when the fun begins, where we can have carbohydrates. Now, it depends on our schedule, it depends on what time we wake up, what time we go to bed at night, but generally, based off of kind of like an average daily schedule, usually around 6 o'clock or so, and then past that are the times that we can have our first carbohydrate meal. So now, at nighttime, this is all gonna affect muscle growth now. So at nighttime, we need for sure protein for our first of 2 carbohydrate meals. So we can have any protein source: chicken, lean ground beef, steak, ground turkey, any kind of protein, and high glycemic carbohydrates. So we don't want complex carbohydrates at nighttime. And the reason why we don't want to be healthier with our carbs at night is because if we were to choose oatmeal or brown rice at nighttime as our carbohydrate source, those types of carbohydrates digest too slow. So it causes a spike in our insulin, but it keeps insulin levels sustained in our body for several hours. We don't want that, because when insulin is present in the blood, it's harder to burn fat. So we want a quick spike of insulin to shuttle and deliver nutrients into our muscle tissue, but then we want our blood sugar levels and our insulin to return to normal and clear our bloodstream, so that way we're back to a fat burning state. So we need high glycemic or high sugar, high starch carbs that digest really quick, that are in our system for only about an hour, and then we go back to normal. So we need white rice, we need white pasta, we need sweet potatoes, yams, we need white flour tortillas, and also what works is cookies and cherry turnovers and brownies and pizza and french fries and donuts and ice cream. Yeah, we want that kind of carbohydrate at nighttime. It sounds crazy, but it's smart, because those types of carbs, they digest quick, they're only in our body for an hour, we get a quick spike in insulin, quick delivery of nutrients into our muscle tissue, and then after an hour, our blood sugar levels return to normal and insulin is gone. So now here we are, back to this enhanced fat burning state, and we have those carbs that affect muscle growth and are there for the next day. So essentially that's carb backloading. We're ketogenic throughout the day, burning fat all day long, and burning our own fat as an energy source rather than carbs as an energy source. We're loading up on high starch carbs at night to get quick nutrient delivery in the muscles and to have our insulin go back to normal, so we return to this enhanced fat burning state. So hopefully that helps. If you have questions about carb backloading, if you would like a free carb backloading nutrition plan, call me at the store. It's NutriShop Murrieta. The number here is 951-677-1551. We're the #1 nutrition store in Murrieta, and we ship product nationwide if you're not local. So thank you for listening, and talk to you soon.